Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Global Business and Management Education Expo. This is the first time we are doing this event, so very excited, and we are really glad that you are here with us today. So we're just going to wait for a couple of more minutes before waiting for some more students to join in, and then we are going to start the session. So just bear with me. Great. So I think a lot of students have already joined us. So I'm just going to take a moment to welcome everyone again. And we are here today for this amazing session by Peter Moore on how to maximize your time at the university and secure a graduate role. So really excited for this session. And Peter is the internalization officer for Swansea University School of Management UK. So he has held number of roles in market research, admissions, and marketing in leading UK universities. And in his current role, he is helping international students with their applications, admissions, enrollments, and he is also the main point of contact throughout your journey to Swansea. So if you have any questions relating to admissions, he really has an expertise in business and management. So, I'm sure you're going to learn a lot from him. And Peter, we are really happy to have you at the Global Business and Management Education Expo. And of course, really excited for your session. So over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mitali, for the introduction, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, that's right. So I'm Pete Moore from the School of Management at Swansea University, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how to go about hopefully securing the graduate role that you're hoping for. As you can see, we work with a large number of global employers at Swansea, and we've got a track record of placing students in really successful roles. And there's a number of ways in which we do that, but it's important to consider how you can go about really maximizing your degree and getting the role that you're seeking. So to kick things off, just wanted to pose a question, and bear in mind, if you've got questions throughout, do feel free to add them into the chat. Hopefully there'll be a time at the end for a bit of a Q&A. But it's worth considering when you're thinking about what graduate role you want, what 100% of graduates have. And of course, it's a pretty obvious answer, the clue's in the question, but it is in fact a degree. And what does that mean for you and for your journey into a graduate role? Well, it's going to mean that you'll need more than a degree to stand out. Obviously, it doesn't minimize the impact of the degree and the usefulness of it, but you're going to be competing against students that all have one as well. So not only are you going to have to develop academically and study hard and achieve good grades, but you're going to need to develop yourself above and beyond what you'd be learning academically to ensure that you're as attractive as possible to potential employers. And then when it comes to it, you'll need to be able to demonstrate, and I've bolded with examples because that's probably the most important part of what you offer and how you've developed as you've been studying for your degree. Now, you need to understand, in order to get an idea of the types of roles that you might be interested in, what employers actually want from graduates and from potential employees. In a nationwide survey in the UK conducted last year, we asked thousands of students what they considered to be the most important factors when an employer decides on who they want to appoint. And you'll see right at the top, students believe that attaining a 2-1 or above, so the second highest degree classification that you can get in the UK, was the most important factor. And then they've ranked various other things from existing experience, communication, passion, teamwork, and then right at the bottom there, we've got resilience. The reason I bring this up is that there's often a bit of a disconnect between what students think is important for their interview and for those graduate roles and what employers are actually looking for. So when we asked employers the exact same question, you'll see quite a difference in some of those factors which they consider to be the most important. So first of all, a 2-1 or above in their degree is right down here in 6th place. Now, I point that out initially because, again, students think it's the most important aspect, but actually employers have put it much lower down. And that's probably because the majority of applications that they're looking at have that as a minimum. So that's their starting point. And then they want to see that you've gone above and beyond just the academics to make yourself as an attractive employee as possible. So communication skills comes in at number 1, which students placed in 3rd. So not too much of a difference there. But then problem solving skills right near the top here, whereas many students thought that would be a bit lower. And actually this reflects the ways in which students need to develop in order to ensure that they're ready for that graduate role and they're ready to be interviewed for it. Now, it's one thing knowing what employers want, but you need to be able to understand how it's going to be assessed so that you can demonstrate that you have those attributes. So generally speaking, the first stages are just going to be based around a CV and probably some psychometric testing. Now, it's important that throughout your academic journey, you're able to keep a record, keep a diary perhaps somehow of all those different activities you've undertaken and how they have contributed to your development, so that when you write your CV or a covering letter, you're able to hit all those points that you know employers are interested in. With the psychometric testing, there's going to be lots of opportunities at different universities, I'm sure, certainly at Swansea, to undertake practice sessions to make sure that it's not brand new for you, you're comfortable in that situation, and you can really deliver. The next stage, if you're successful, is going to be a competency-based interview. And generally, they last around 45 minutes to an hour, and they'll ask around your sort of personal details, your background, your education, those kind of generic questions to get you off and just to check in, make sure that you're okay and that, you know, you can communicate with them properly and all that kind of thing. Then generally, the second part will focus on how you have developed certain qualities. So we had that list earlier on. They'll be looking to see that you've been able to problem solve in different aspects of your life, that you've been resilient, that you've shown a passion for business, and so on. Importantly, what you're going to need to do is evidence everything that you say. It's all well and good to say, yep, I'm a fantastic leader. But if you haven't done anything where you've actually led, or if you haven't explained to the interviewer what you've done and how you've developed in your leadership, they're not going to know. You need to assume, because they will have zero knowledge about you as a person, about what you've accomplished. And so go into detail about those things that you've done and explain how what the situation was. So this is the STAR framework. Start off with a situation. It might be, I was the president of the Entrepreneurship Society, for example. The task. So what happened? We had a new event happening to gain new members. Action. What did you do? Well, perhaps you delegated out some work. You set up a small marketing campaign. You bid for some funding for that, and then reflect on it. So explain to them what you've learned, what you think went well, what didn't go well, and it's going to show to them that you've put yourself into a situation where you can exhibit the skills you've had, you've thought about it, and it's going to enable you to develop further. One of the big parts of assessment centres and interviews for graduate roles in the UK are group exercises or group assessments. And these are designed to really replicate the type of work that you might have to do in that organisation when you're employed. And there's a variety of different ones. I've got an example in a moment. But generally, you'd be put into a random group. So it's probably going to be people that you don't know, that you've met earlier on that day. So you're going to quickly have to learn how to work together, who's going to do what activities. You have a set period of time to do so. And they'll give you a situation. So maybe a transport issue or an issue with an unhappy customer, perhaps a product launch, something along those lines. And generally then you'll have a presentation at the end of it to reflect on what you've done, to demonstrate what you think is the best approach, but then also an opportunity to reflect on how the group has worked. Now, while some of the assessments themselves can be a bit wacky, they're often not necessarily looking for a specific answer. What they're looking for is how you're going to interact with different people, with new team members, how you're going to face adversity. So an example from a recent assessment center that one of our students did was they were put into a group of I believe 10, and they were given an hour to prep for a specific presentation. With 20 minutes to go, the team came in and said, actually, no, you're not presenting on that. You've got a new topic and you've only got 15 minutes to prepare. So of course, everyone's scrambling, and they just want to make sure that you're able to act calm under pressure, that you can continue to communicate. And really importantly with the group activities is that you're able to listen to all different members of your team. So this is an example where essentially you're put into a group and you are given a list of equipment that you can see on the screen. So it's a variety of weird and wonderful things. And the task is that you can only take 10 of these items to the moon in order to try and get back home to Earth safely. And you have to rank them in order. So of course, there's lots of different discussions going on and people have strong opinions about different things. The assessors will be watching you throughout this to see, one, how you're thinking about the different items and what's going to be important, but also how you're interacting with the other members of your team. If someone has an opinion that you disagree with, are you just disregarding it, or are you listening to them and actually considering their views and then perhaps proposing a counter argument? So knowing how assessment centers work and how employers are looking to ascertain who's going to be right for their role is a really important step in understanding how you need to develop in order to get offered those graduate roles. So how can you demonstrate to employers that you've developed skills like leadership, like resilience, like persistence and problem solving? Well, it's experience and more experience. You cannot demonstrate that you have been able to do any of those things unless you've gone outside of your comfort zone, you've experienced new things and you've challenged yourself. If you just, as I say, simply complete your degree, I say simply, and I know it's not as easy as that, but if you just complete your degree and don't engage with anything else while you're at university, then you're going to struggle to explain how you're going to be an asset to the business. The top most desirable skill that employers wanted was communication. And this is an area that a lot of people think is only a natural skill. You're either a good communicator or you're not. And whilst for a number of these different things, there is a degree of natural aptitude available, that doesn't mean to say that you can't improve it, even if you're starting at a very high level. And I've just put on here a list of a few things that are available at kind of most UK universities that are going to enable you to really develop your communication. So certainly at Swansea, across our business portfolio, you can opt to do a year abroad or a year in industry. And of course, during that, you're going to be learning a huge amount. You're going to be picking up lots of communication skills simply by interacting with people on a daily basis. If you do a year abroad, you might have to try a new language or simplify your own way of talking to be understood. And if you do a year in industry, you're going to be picking up that language of industry. You're going to be interacting with people of, much different ages, from sort of 21 up to 65, 70, with varying degrees of experience and seniority. So it's important that you put yourselves into those positions. Societies at UK universities are a big part of the cultural aspect of what's offered. And getting involved in societies is another fantastic way to build up communication skills, because you could be doing some marketing work, you could be explaining systems to new members, or you could indeed be interacting with external speakers. So get involved in societies, and if you can get involved in a society which matches up to your career aims, then so much the better, because there's going to be that kind of synthesis between the two that enables you to say, yes, I've developed as a communicator because I was presenting on this aspect, but it was also related to what I want to do in the future, and I've gained skills there. Volunteering is also another sort of common thing for students to do in the UK university. It enables you to, give back to the community, which of course employers are always keen to see. But again, it develops those skills that we discussed around talking with all kinds of different people and communicating in different ways. And studying abroad, it's an incredibly brave thing to do, in my opinion, and it's a fantastic way to really set yourself apart from the competition, to go into a new country, potentially learn a new language, and it just shows a huge amount of initiative, which of course employers are looking for. The second most important aspect that employers rated was a passion for the business. And the first thing that you're going to have to do in order to demonstrate this is really research that company, really understand their mission statement, their history, and their future goals, so that when they come to ask you questions about it, you're not floundering and guessing. You know exactly what kind of company they are. And then if you've decided early enough that you want this specific job, you can start to align your degree with the industry. Now, what I mean by that is that for most UK universities, and certainly at Swansea, as you go through your degree, you get a lot of opportunity to choose different modules. There will be some that you have to take, those core modules, but there'll be some that you can choose. And if there are any that are related to the industry or the job that you're hoping to work in, I would strongly recommend that you select them, because not only is it going to give you that technical expertise, which you can use to talk at interview, but it's also going to give you that much deeper understanding, so that when you're in that interview, you're coming across as an expert and someone who can make a difference straight away. Certainly worth engaging with any potential employer on social media, so follow all their different channels and really kind of get to grips with the feel of the company. You can often get a really good sense of what a company's like by the type of social media that they have, and that's again going to enable you to align yourself with their ethos. And then again, align your hobbies to the business itself. So you might join a society which is really focused around a particular area of business. So for example, at Swansea, we have something called Swansea Women in Business, which provides a platform for businesswomen across South Wales to really excel. And if you're looking to get into an industry like that, being involved in a society or having a hobby which is related to it is again going to demonstrate that you've got a real passion for that business, that you've wanted to do it for a while, and indeed that you've developed experience within it. Problem solving skills is always a bit of a tricky one for students to be able to demonstrate, but actually when you think about it, problem solving is something that we do all of the time. The most valuable way in which you can develop problem solving skills is to take yourself out of your comfort zone. And by that, I mean experiencing new things. You're never going to be able to problem solve if you never encounter any problems. And you're never going to encounter any problems if you don't challenge yourself. So again, some of those things that we discussed on the previous slide about volunteering, studying abroad, they're all going to present you with different problems. And how you solve those, how you react to them is really important for employers, because in any job, you're going to encounter difficulties, you're going to encounter problems, and that's what you're there for, is to solve them and to come out of them the other side. So making sure that you can demonstrate you've kept a cool, calm head under pressure and that you've been able to deliver a successful outcome is really important. So take a lead on academic or social activities. At Swansea, we have a variety, and I'm sure at other universities, there'll be a variety of different assessment methods for your different modules. So some of them will be examinations, some of them will be coursework, some of them will be presentations. And in having this variety, it enables you to see different aspects of likely how you'd be working in the real world. It's rare that somebody would be working and only be writing reports or only be doing presentations. It's going to be a combination of different things, and doing those regularly, taking a lead on them if you're the lead, in a student group, can really help you develop problem solving skills. Entrepreneurship, of course, this is a business management event at Swansea. We're huge on entrepreneurship. And if you can start a business whilst you're at university, because generally there's a huge amount of support available for that, not just financial support, but support from academics and various other people to give you advice. If you can show that you've been able to start a business while studying for your degree, that's really going to demonstrate how you've been able to solve problems, how you've been able to manage your time. Commercial awareness is another big important aspect for potential employers, and they want to see that you've really understood the challenges facing their company in their industry. So really important again when following their social media accounts and researching the industry, but is to researching the company, but is also to research the industry as a whole. So look at the macro context of the organization, look at the factors that are affecting it from the outside and factors that could be affecting it in 5, 10 or 15 years time. Because if you can demonstrate in your interview that you've been able to consider the long-term future, the strategic future of the organization, and that you've thought about ways in which you can either maximize or counteract external factors, it's a real benefit. They want to see that you can think long-term about the industry in which you're going to be going into. So some general tips, now that you've kind of got an idea of how assessment centres and so on work in the UK and the different opportunities that are available, it's really important that you do your research first and foremost, not just on the company, not just on the industry, but on every aspect of it that you can. If you get the opportunity to speak to anyone who used to work there or still does, take it. You can really get an idea then of the type of cultural fit, the type of person that they're looking for, and then align yourself with that. You need to look for opportunities. So university is a fantastic period of time in your life where there are so many different opportunities available and so many people that want you to do well. But those opportunities are unlikely to come straight to you. You need to look for them, sign up to the newsletters, follow the relevant social media accounts so that as and when opportunities come out, you can take them. And don't be afraid again to get out of your comfort zone when doing so, because if you don't, you're never going to give yourself the opportunity to develop. The next point, maintain a diary to make sure you don't forget all you've done, is a really important thing and really helps when it comes to boiling down your CV or covering letter or just prepping for your interview. So it might seem small to you at the time. Perhaps you've organized a bake sale for charity or something like that as part of one of your societies. Make sure you write it down in this designated diary so that then when it comes towards the end of your degree, you can look back over 3 years worth of, or possibly 4 or 5 years worth of really valuable experiences, just to make sure that you don't forget them, and remember to write down how you develop, not just what you did, but remember that STAR framework we discussed earlier on, not just what you did, but how you did it, what the action was, and how you've reflected on it and how you've developed. And then finally, reach out to contacts. As I said earlier, if you know anyone in the industry, if you know people that are working there, if you get the opportunity to chat to them, please do take it. And there's lots of resource available through different universities to connect with alumni, speak to academics, many of whom have got professional experience in the types of industries that our students are interested in going to. So reach out to them, utilize all those different contacts that you've got. And if you can do all of these things that we've discussed, you should be onto a winner and be looking at getting some really good graduate roles. So thank you very much indeed for listening. I hope it's been interesting and useful for you. And we've got a few minutes now. If anybody would like to ask any questions, now's a great time. I'm also going to be at the Swansea University booth from 11 till 2. So obviously there we can discuss more about Swansea University and the courses that are available. And again, if you've got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to pop them into the chat. Just checking now to see if there are any that have come through. Thank you. You're very welcome indeed. I hope to see you in the booth in a few moments. Hi, Partik. What kind of achievements should go in our diary? My advice would be any and all, really. just so that you don't ever forget them. It might be that you don't use all of them when it comes to interview, or when it comes to, writing your CV. But as long as you've kept a record, it's also going to be able to show you how you've developed. So you might start off with, perhaps something small. You were a member of an organization, and then over the period of your degree, you sort of advanced to it, and maybe became the president of it by the end. That again will really show the employers how you've developed. So I would recommend, keeping track of everything. Are there any course for after a PhD? That's a very good question. It's kind of the highest level of qualification that we'd offer at Swansea, but there's always opportunity to go into different areas of research, or indeed, if you can demonstrate, sort of further specialization, you could even undertake another master's or another PhD. We've had another question here. Is marketing a good MBA program in the current pandemic scenario? I'll be graduating in a few months and can't choose what specialization I should do. Well, it's a very good question. The short answer is yes, and the long answer is it depends what you want to do. Now, there's always going to be human resource management, and there's always going to be marketing. The power of marketing is obviously well known, and particularly in the current world, where the way in which we market is changing quite rapidly, I'd say there's always going to be a demand for it. But if you want to talk through the different choices, Suba, in a bit more detail, then do come to the booth in a few minutes' time, and we can discuss it in more detail there. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you, Nalashis. Vina, I want to become shareholder of a company. Do you have any suggestions on which course I need to take, because I'm an engineering student? That's a very good question. For us, we offer a number of what we call conversion courses, which are management courses designed for students who haven't studied business or related subjects before. So engineering would be a great example of that. If you're coming straight from an engineering degree without any work experience, then probably the MSc management would be most appropriate in terms of what we offer at Swansea. But if you've got a few years, of industrial experience, then we offer an MBA as well, which is obviously a world-renowned qualification, and that would enable you to take that engineering degree, so those really technical expertise that you've got, and apply them in a business context. So there'll be plenty of courses available. Which MBA should be done for leadership? Well, at Swansea, we have one MBA, and then we have a variety of other master's courses. To be honest, they all deal with leadership in different ways, and at different points throughout the course. So there would be lots of different options for you, Riva. And I would suggest if you come along to the booth, that we can have a chat in a bit more detail. But for anyone else who's interested in that sort of thing, if you're interested in a really specific area of management, I'd advise to check on the course on the website and look at the modules that make it up. Because if there's a specific module in leadership, for example, then when it comes to those interviews again, you can talk specifically about what you've covered in that. After engineering, MBA or MEM, which is better to go to? It depends entirely, on what you're hoping to achieve after university. So there isn't necessarily a better route, but it's about considering, what you want and where you want to go. So if it's more business oriented, I would recommend the MBA. And if you've got any contacts, if you've got a specific industry in mind that you're hoping to get into, reach out to contacts there and ask them if they, because some companies within the same industry will prefer one type of qualification over another. So it's worth checking with them. From Naman, any postdoctoral program university offering? Yes, many. So we have lots of different research pathways available, and a fantastic team of academics that are all, we're a research-led university, and so there's lots of different options. Again, if you come along to the booth, we can talk through some more. But if you go on the Swansea Uni website, there's a search for a supervisor tool, and it will show you all the different areas that are being researched. Okay, one from Deviant. I really want to know where foreign countries where we can go with a 3-year degree instead of 4. Well, the majority of the degrees at Swansea University are 3 years long, unless you choose to do a year abroad or a year in industry, which would add another year. So if it's a 3-year undergraduate degree that you're looking for, yeah, we've got lots of different options in business management, in accounting and finance, and various combinations of those. What do I think about the program MSc in Luxury Brand Management? How is the job opportunity after that? I can't speak too specifically, as we don't offer a luxury brand management masters, but we do offer obviously many management masters. And the job opportunities, you know, there really are many to take in the UK, and particularly now that we've got the graduate immigration route again, which would allow anyone coming from overseas to stay in the UK for up to 2 years after graduation and look for work or work at any skill level. It means that even if you don't secure that graduate role immediately upon leaving university, you can continue to build up experience and continue to apply for roles. And that would be a great qualification, I'm sure, if that's the type of work that you're looking to get into. What's the best advice or suggestion to improve thinking skills by which we can think in a short while? That's a good question, Peter. And I would say, to be honest, that the main way to do this, going back to my slide earlier on, is by getting different experiences under your belt. They don't necessarily just have to be related to the business or industry that you're hoping to go into. But just by putting yourself into different situations and taking yourself out of your comfort zone, you're inevitably going to be faced with situations where you need to make quick decisions. You know, perhaps you organized an event and the catering hasn't turned up. Well, you know, people are eating in half an hour's time or an hour's time. You need to get something organized. You're going to have to think quickly on your feet. So it's by getting into situations like that and by, you know, really experiencing what university's got to offer that you could improve those things as well as doing your degree, of course. Any tips for someone who would like to set up a startup? What should be the initiative an individual should take? Great question. Now, certainly at Swansea, we have various different entrepreneurship platforms that we use to support students who want to start their own business. So last year, we invested over £50,000 into student startups within the School of Management. And we have an entrepreneurs network, which is designed to support anyone to try and start their business. So I would really recommend it, because it's unlikely that you'll be in an opportunity again where you're surrounded literally by sort of world-class academics in that field and people that have started their own businesses, and indeed people that want to see you succeed. Plus, you know, you've got a bit of a safety net. You're still at university. You're still hopefully going to be graduating with a good degree. So yeah, definitely, you know, go along to different entrepreneurship events, have a chat with different students who have set up their businesses, have a chat with some business professors and see what they think. But definitely, you know, take that opportunity and really go for it. Can I suggest some books to read to develop our intellect in business? Many. I would recommend having a look. So most universities, most courses will have a list of what's called recommended reading. And they are books that the professors and the lecturers have decided are going to be really beneficial to get an understanding of prior to starting the course. So I suggest going onto the website, having a look at that, and taking it from there. How to get clarity on the specialization which will be best suited? What should we do to know what we are interested in? Very good question. Quite a philosophical one. I like it. I think that, you know, it doesn't necessarily matter if when you start university, you haven't got a really clear calling of a type of career that you want to do. Certainly within our business management degree in the first year, you would get a broad overview of different areas of business. And we do that so that then when you move into your second and third years, you are sort of more acquainted with those different areas. So you might have studied marketing before, but not HR. You might have studied finance before, but not operations. And then when you study that new thing, you think, okay, this is brilliant. This is exactly what I want to be going for. And then, as we discussed earlier on, you can start to align your degree and your hobbies and your skills with that type of industry. So I would say, you know, allow yourself to be exposed to different areas of business and allow yourself time to think about the area which you think you're going to be best suited in and that you'll enjoy the most. Wanted to pursue a career in events, so what courses should I opt for? Lots of universities offer things like event management. We don't at Swansea, but within our business and management portfolio, you'd be building up, very similar skills in terms of operations and supply, leadership, delegation. Sorry, I'm trying to rattle through these questions because there's quite a few and I'm conscious of time, so apologies if I'm being a bit brief. What are the things we should include in the CV? You want to have all of your qualifications, any additional courses that you've done, any work experience, and any relevant activities that you've undertaken. Like earlier on, we were talking about joining societies or studying abroad, doing a year in industry, volunteering, all those kind of things. But it needs to be tailored to what that company is looking for. So you need to really understand the business, really understand the type of person they're trying to recruit, and then show them through your CV and covering letter how you can deliver on those points. I'm interested in HR management. Is there any particular skill that I should develop while I'm doing my degree? Yeah, I would say there's many, and probably, from that list that we had right at the start. So let's go back and check it. Where it talks communication skills, passion for business, problem solving, resilience. They're the big things that they want to see you've got. So, try and focus on those if you can. Charvi, my friends and I have a really good startup idea, but I have to appear for my GMAT coming January. And I think I'll be learning much more in a business than in an internship. Should I go ahead with it? It's a really good question, Charvi, and it's, ultimately only one that you can answer. My advice, for what it's worth, would be to continue with the startup. If you think it's a good idea and you're passionate about it, go for it. You've got to do what you feel strongly about, but also consider that you might be able to continue that alongside the internship. And if you can, then you can really demonstrate not only an entrepreneurial streak, but how you've been able to really effectively manage your time. How is Master of Hospital Administration? To be honest, I can't really comment on that. It's not a program that we offer, I'm afraid. I want to go for CIM program from a UK university, but want to go for my own business or venture. How should I go ahead with my plan? I would say, go for it. Go for the CIM program. It's going to give you a lot of skills that are going to be relevant for you if you do start your own business. And as I said, most universities will offer lots of support for people that do want to start their business. So if you're studying for that CIM, then you may also be able to continue with that startup venture and really get supported while you're doing so. Is engineering management good for engineering graduates who are willing to do masters in management department? If I understand the question correctly, then absolutely, it's a good master's. One of the reasons that we have conversion courses at Swansea for students that have done things like engineering or science or something else is so that you can go into an industry where you're going to need a high level of technical expertise, which you would have achieved through an engineering degree, but also be able to lead and manage people. And that's what we would give you with that 1-year master's. Is it advisable to take up a double major at undergraduate level? It can be, absolutely. So double majors, we offer a number of different kind of degrees with different specialisms. So within business management, there's about 10 different specialisms you can choose from, or you can just do business management. It's definitely advisable if you have got a strong calling towards a particular type of career. So if you know that you want to get into marketing, well, then it's probably going to be most beneficial to do business management with marketing. I'm in high school. I want to pursue fine arts. There isn't much recognition shown towards contemporary. Which and how will a college or university help me in increasing awareness about the value of art? That's a fantastic question. And to be honest, I'm afraid it's probably not one which I can answer very well, because at Swansea, we don't really offer any programs in the arts. We've got STEM subjects, business, and sort of languages and things. So yeah, I'm afraid I can't really be of much help there. So I'm conscious of the fact we are kind of overrunning. I'm just going to quickly flick through the rest of the questions to see if there's any I can answer very quickly. But what I would encourage anyone to do, if I haven't been able to answer your question, is come along to my booth, the Swansea University booth, directly after this. Oh, good question there. Will an MSc in finance help students to pursue CFA? At Swansea, yes, it certainly will. I can't comment on other universities, but accreditation is a very important part of any degree that's offered in the UK. So I would recommend, check the accreditation of the course that you're doing and make sure it aligns to the industry which you want to go in. Can an international student on a study visa start a startup, and what would the visa be and how would go about it? Yeah, so on a student visa, you'd be able to work for up to 20 hours a week. I don't think you would need a different type of visa, but you would need to double check that with the university. But most UK universities have got specific visa advice teams so that you can make sure you know exactly what you're doing. A student who doesn't have a peer group utilizes time to gain knowledge by taking studies alongside. Lots of different things you could do. And ultimately through many societies and so on at university level, you would be able to kind of gain that peer group of like-minded people. So I would say, really have a think about the type of job that you want to have and try and align yourself to a society or to a company that's going to be relevant to you. Okay. I think I've been able to answer most of the questions. So sorry if I haven't been able to get to your question specifically, but like I said, if I haven't, or if you've got any other questions, then do come along to the Swansea University booth, which I'll be in just a moment.